All right, back to the text, back to the Macedonians. It says this about the Macedonians, and they exceeded our expectations. They gave themselves first of all to the Lord, and then, by the will of God, also to us. Greatness and generosity comes from a heart that's yielded to God. There's something amazing that happens when the Macedonians or the Omahaans come before God, and we fully lay ourselves out before God and say, God, everything is yours. What you realize when you give your life to Jesus, it means that your life is Jesus, your bank account is Jesus, your house, your kids, everything is Jesus. And when it comes to all these things, we would do well to repeat this simple mantra, it's all God's anyway. Someone say, it's all God's anyway. You don't own anything. When you give yourself to God, to the mission, it's easy. It's easy to give yourself to the church or to the apostles or to the mission because it's all God's anyways once you're fully yielded to Him. So I'm going to be asking you to pray a prayer over the next 3 weeks. It's a similar prayer to what we've prayed. It's on the little cards that you received when you came in, or maybe we're on your seats here. And it's just a prayer that says, God, do whatever it takes in me to accomplish your will through me. It's a prayer of being yielded to God and say, God, I am wholly and fully yours. Give yourself to God and let Him mess with your guts. Let Him mess with your soul, your priorities, and then decide what to give to Him. I think doing this last time is why there was such a massive outpouring of support when we had our 10-10-10 offering. You know, people sold vehicles and gave the money. People sold jewelry. Some people, out of their extreme poverty, they overwhelmed us with rich generosity. Some sold properties, some who were giving 10%, the tithe to Christ Community anyway, upped that to 14%, and gave the rest to Double Your Impact. Businesses opened new divisions and gave the proceeds of that new division to Double Your Impact. And thousands of people were blessed. And it happened because a whole congregation yielded themselves before God, gave their finances, gave themselves first to the Lord and then to the church. That's what the Macedonians did. Well, then Paul turns his attention to the Corinthians. He says, okay, Corinthians, Corinthians, this is your deal. So we urged Titus. Now, Titus was the messenger who brought the message to Corinth, and he's also the one who was collecting the offering. We urged Titus, just as he had early made a beginning, to bring also to completion this act of grace on your part. But since you excel in everything, in faith, in speech, in knowledge, in complete earnestness, and in the love we have kindled in you, see to it that you also excel in this grace of giving. Now, when it comes to the city of Corinth, it's important to know a couple of things for these verses. One is that it was on the isthmus that connected the Peloponnesus, or the Greek peninsula, to the mainland that was there. So all kinds of travel went through Corinth to get from one part of Greece to the other. The other thing is that there was a shortcut by sea if you could just get over this isthmus to bring things into this area. So Corinth became a major crossroads of trade. And where there's a crossroads of trade, people stop for a few days, entertainment grows, things get bigger and bigger there. It becomes a wealthy city with lots of things to do. And I heard last month that they unearthed an inscription in Corinth, an ancient inscription that says, what happens in Corinth stays in Corinth. That's right. Actually, they did not unearth that kind of inscription. I'm just kidding on that one. But anyway, what happened in Corinth for real is that they were a very rich city. They were a rich city. So what Paul's doing, he's taunting them a little bit. He says, hey, the overwhelming poverty of the Macedonians welled up in rich generosity. What are you rich guys going to do? And you think about this and you say, hey, which church are we? Are we the Corinthians or are we the Macedonians? And the parallel is really clear. We're the rich church. If we took all the churches on the planet and lined them up, we'd be in the top 1% of rich churches. But the good news is that I think we're also in the top 1% of all generous churches as well. I've never seen a church that's overflowed with generosity the way that this church does. It's an amazing thing. And so we're asking you to do the healthy thing. Once in a while, it's just a really good idea to examine your hearts. And as the time comes, you pray, God, do whatever it takes in me to accomplish your will through me.